Known for his quick wit, sharp humor, and charismatic personality, Johnny Carson was one of the most beloved television hosts in the history of American late-night shows. For over 3 decades, he entertained millions as the host of The Tonight Show, becoming a household name synonymous with laughter. But behind the laughter, behind the charming public persona, there was a man who carried a profound emotional weight. While his on-screen presence was unflappable, Johnny's private life was marked by a love that he never forgot, a love that shaped him in ways that few ever knew. Today, we'll unmask the intimate side of Johnny Carson and explore the love that defined him. Stay with us as we delve into the story of Johnny Carson, a legend whose legacy continues to shine bright. The hidden side of Johnny Carson, a man in search of love. To the world, Johnny Carson was larger than life. His laugh, his timing, and his effortless ability to make anyone smile were what made him one of the most beloved figures in television history. But Johnny's personal life painted a different picture. Away from the bright lights of The Tonight Show, Johnny was a man who struggled with his relationships, constantly seeking a love that would endure. Born in 1925 in Iowa, Carson's road to stardom was filled with hard work and ambition. His rise to fame seemed to happen overnight when he took over The Tonight Show in 1962. But while his career was soaring, Johnny's personal life was far more turbulent. Throughout his life, Johnny sought a love that matched his public success, a love that could provide him the emotional intimacy he so desperately craved. And while his charm and wit won over audiences, it wasn't always enough to keep love in his grasp. Joan Walcott, the first love that faded away. Johnny's first marriage was to Joan Walcott. They met before Johnny became a household name, back when he was just starting out in radio. The two married in 1949, and for a time, their love seemed destined for longevity. At that point, Johnny was far from the limelight of television fame, and they shared a relatively simple life, far removed from the pressures that would later challenge their bond. However, as Johnny's career began to rise, so did the strain on their marriage. Jody, a woman who preferred a quiet life away from the glare of fame, struggled to adjust to Johnny's increasing popularity. As his career took off, their relationship began to suffer. Long nights, frequent separations, and the public demands on Johnny made it hard for the couple to stay connected. Despite welcoming 3 sons into their family, the gap between Johnny and Jody only widened over time. The pressures of his burgeoning fame and the emotional distance that followed became too much to bear. By 1963, the couple had divorced quietly, without much public attention. It was a turning point for Johnny, a reminder that love, much like fame, was not easily held on to. But this heartbreak wouldn't be his last. Joanne Copeland, the love he could never forget. It was just months after his divorce from Jody that Johnny Carson found himself swept up in a new romance, this time with Joanne Copeland. A former model, Joanne brought a sense of elegance and sophistication to Johnny's life, and the two seemed to complement each other perfectly. They married in 1963, and from the outside, their relationship looked like something out of a Hollywood fairy tale. But as with all things in Johnny's life, the intense pressures of his career began to creep in. The Tonight Show was at its peak, and Johnny was becoming more and more absorbed in the demands of nightly television. While millions tuned in to see Johnny's effortless humor, behind the scenes, his relationship with Joanne was beginning to unravel. For Joanne, being married to the king of late night was not as glamorous as it appeared. The couple struggled to maintain their intimacy amid Johnny's ever-increasing fame. He was constantly on, a public figure whose personal life was often secondary to his career. As the years passed, the emotional connection they had once shared began to fray, and by 1972, after nearly a decade together, Johnny and Joanne divorced. Yet, for Johnny, this wasn't just another failed marriage. In the years that followed, He would quietly confess to close friends that Joanne was the love he could never forget. Despite the breakdown of their marriage, Johnny held on to the memory of Joanne with deep affection and regret. It was a secret that few knew, a rare admission from a man who was otherwise so guarded about his personal life. Joanne remained the one woman who had touched Johnny's heart in a way that no one else ever had. Joanna Holland, another attempt at love in the spotlight. After his painful split from Joanne, Johnny once again found love, this time with Joanna Holland, a striking socialite and model. The two married in 1972, and their relationship was immediately thrust into the public eye. Joanna was often seen on Johnny's arm at glamorous events, and for a time it seemed as though Johnny had found a partner who understood the complexities of life in the spotlight. But, as with his previous marriages, the weight of Johnny's fame proved too much. Hosting The Tonight Show required long hours and an intense dedication that often left little room for personal relationships. For Joanna, being married to Johnny meant sharing him with millions of adoring fans, a reality that was difficult to reconcile. After over a decade of marriage, Johnny and Joanna separated in 1983. Like his earlier divorces, the split was discreet, but the emotional toll was heavy. By this point, Johnny had experienced 3 failed marriages, each one ending with a sense of loss and longing. But despite these heartbreaks, it was still Joanne Copeland, the woman he had loved and lost in the 1960s, who lingered in his heart. No matter how hard he tried to move on, Johnny couldn't forget her. Alexis Moss, the quiet love of his final years. By the time Johnny Carson met Alexis Moss in the mid-1880s, he had already become a legend. His previous marriages had all ended in divorce, and it seemed unlikely that he would find lasting love again. But in Alexis, Johnny found something he hadn't experienced in years, a sense of calm and peace. They married in 1987, and for the next 18 years, Alexis provided Johnny with the stability he had long sought. Unlike his previous relationships, Johnny's marriage to Alexis was far more private. Alexis, a former stockbroker, had no interest in the limelight, and this allowed Johnny to step away from the public eye. Their life together was marked by quiet moments, a stark contrast to the high-profile marriages that had come before. Yet, even in this final chapter of his life, Johnny's heartache remained. Though he loved Alexis, he never truly moved on from Joanne Copeland. His friends and confidants have spoken about how deeply Johnny regretted the way his relationship with Joanne ended. It was a private pain that stayed with him for the rest of his life, a love lost that he could never quite let go. Johnny's confession, a love that endured. Despite the years. In his later years, Johnny Carson's confessions to his closest friends revealed a man who was still haunted by the love he lost. While his public persona remained polished, his private heart was filled with a longing for Joanne, a woman he could never forget. It was a love that had slipped away, a relationship that he could never repair. And though Johnny found peace with Alexis in his final years, his memories of Joanne lingered until the very end. Johnny Carson, the man who made us laugh, but carried with him a love that never left his heart. His confession was a testament to the fact that even the brightest stars can feel the deepest pain. In the end, Johnny's most intimate moment wasn't on stage. It was the quiet realization that love, once lost, can never truly be forgotten. So it's important to hold on to the ones we love and cherish them while we have them. Love is a precious thing, and even the greatest of us are not immune to its power. Johnny Carson will always be remembered as a comedy legend, but his story also serves as a reminder that true love can endure through the years, never truly fading away. And though he may be gone, his love for Joanne lives on, a lasting tribute to the power of love and its enduring hold on our hearts. So let us remember Johnny Carson not just as a legendary comedian, but also as a man who experienced the joys and heartaches of love like any other person. May we all find comfort in knowing that even in the spotlight, true love can still exist and impact our lives in ways we never imagined. Rest in peace, Johnny Carson. Your legacy will never be forgotten. The end of an era. But within every ending is the potential for new beginnings. The legacy that Johnny Carson left behind continues to inspire generations of comedians and entertainers. His impact on comedy and television cannot be overstated, and he will always be remembered as the king of late night. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content like this.